Each time people hear the word death, it sends a chill down their spine. There has been a taboo associated with talking about death in general. Most people get too uncomfortable talking about it. But death is the source of life. When a worm is caught by a bird, it has to die for the young hatchlings to live. Nature appears brutal, but life and death go around in a circle. There is nothing inherently wrong with death itself. It is your inability to accept death as a part of life that weighs on you. Death is what gives life meaning. Without death, you would cease to feel as alive as you do now. A classic example of feeling truly alive is portrayed in the movie The Bucket List, featuring Jack Nicholson and Morgan Freeman. In the movie, a mechanic happens to meet a billionaire in a hospital. Terminally ill with cancer, the two of them begin a journey to cross off all the items on their bucket list. They lived more in the 3 months after realizing that death was certain than they did in the previous decades of being alive. The movie portrayed a lesser-known facet of human psychology. We tend to truly feel alive only when we become aware of death. Alan Watts has rightly said, if our death could be indefinitely postponed, we would not actually go on postponing it indefinitely, because after a certain point, we would realize that isn't the way in which we wanted to survive. It is not, therefore, natural for us to wish to prolong life indefinitely. Yet if you ask young adults or even ask teenagers whether they would like to live forever, many of them will still respond with an affirmative. This is confirmed by various studies conducted by researchers, which show that while most people prefer a natural death, a reasonable percentage of people would still accept an opportunity to live forever. A survey conducted by the University of Texas on 900 people showed that 33% would be willing to take an immortality pill. A similar study conducted in the UK by Sapio Research showed that 21% would be likely to choose to live forever. There is no reason for life to go on forever. The universe is alive and it created all life to be cyclical. This is why when some beings die, the cyclical nature of life brings new beings into our world. Apart from the obvious biological reasons of the impact on our planet, there is a spiritual angle to why life tends to end after a certain point. As each new being comes into existence, nature, in a way, is renewed. For a child, even the most mundane things from everyday life appear fascinating because there is no ulterior motive of money or survival involved. You would remember thinking as a child that the moon was following your car, or being immensely excited after finding a perfectly round-shaped pebble as a toddler. But as you grow older, that magic fades away. The patterns on the wall, the stars in the night sky, and the shape of leaves cease to have the meaning that they once did. Nature then brings new beings into the world to keep that magic alive. You truly live only by seeing magic in everyday life. Through you, the universe is merely amusing itself. The moment your magic fades away is the moment you stop playing the universe's game of observing itself with awe. Life then doesn't seem to have a point anymore. You become a walking corpse, just waiting for death, a death that already happens while you were alive, except that you don't notice it. And so the universe eventually continues the game with beings that have a completely new view of life. The magic continues to live through others. Our society programs us to think of death in every conceivable way as a dreadful thing. The reality is that there is an odd spiritual experience associated with death. People who have had near-death experiences return from the brink of this reality only to speak of having an experience so profoundly spiritual that it leaves them in tears. But society, by sweeping things under the carpet, denies most people from having such an experience. Most people spend their final moments in fear and anxiety instead of choosing to see the light at the end of the tunnel. If you understood that death could have just as much meaning as being alive, then you would go into it with a sense of openness and you would say, I wouldn't want to miss this moment of crossing over. Death just gives you an opportunity for you to understand what life is all about. This is why some motivational speakers urge you to live like this is your last day alive. If you know you're going to die tomorrow, you'll most certainly try to become the best version of yourself. You'll feel an odd sense of joy all around. You would want to do good and make amends. Very few will spend the final 24 hours anxious and depressed because people would want to get the most out of their last day. The denial of death is what causes most people to live an empty life. For if you live as if you were immortal, you will keep postponing important things. You will spring back to life the minute you realize that it is your last day on earth. Death also teaches us to let go of everything in the final moments. This is precisely what is scary to your ego. If you let go of everything in your final moments, the ego can't put up with not being in control. Our society thus makes the whole process of death a bad idea that nobody talks about, and when the moment finally arrives, you are unprepared for it. You missed the golden opportunity by making it taboo instead of spiritually understanding the process. As a species, it is the social acceptance of death that prevents us from living. Once you accept it, though, you're ready for a graceful passing over, and when you are genuinely ready, you will see with mental clarity the mystery of the universe. You will understand that you do not die, for you are not the body. You merely leave the body behind and descend to another reality. The end of the physical body should not be of concern. The concern should be whether you truly lived while you were alive. Without death, you would just be playing the game of life in survival mode. There would be no meaning to it all. This isn't to say that you shouldn't mourn the dead. You absolutely should, as grieving is a part of the healing process and it's your nature. But by denying death or by choosing immortality, you deny life itself. As science pushes the boundaries of what is possible in our reality, we will reach a point in the near future when immortality will not be science fiction anymore. I can only hope that the people of the future realize that death is what brings magic to life. Like the protagonists in the movie The Bucket List, you will see life from a different lens and begin to truly live if you knew that life could end at any moment. You still have time. Relearn how to see magic in everything again and live as if every day is your last.